The stars twinkled against the vast darkness as the alien ship Seeker slowed its approach toward the blue-green planet. Captain Gray stood on the command deck, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he studied the readings. This small world, third from its yellow star, buzzed with energy patterns unlike any the Galactic Council had documented before. Most unusual, he said, his translator converting his clicking speech to the standard Council language. Life readings are off the charts, and the energy signatures suggest artificial power sources. His second-in-command, Officer Mott, adjusted the scanners. Primitive technology by our standards, Captain, but advancing rapidly. Their communications network covers the entire planet. The Seeker had been dispatched after the Council's long-range sensors detected unusual radiation bursts from this unexplored system. What they found was a planet teeming with life, dominated by a bipedal species that had spread across every continent. "Bring us into orbit," Captain Gray ordered. "Keep the cloaking shields active. We will observe before making contact." For 3 days, the alien crew watched the humans below. They intercepted and decoded broadcasts, studied the movement patterns of vehicles, and mapped population centers. The more they learned, the more puzzled they became. "They fight constantly," noted Science Officer Pell. "Look at their history records. Endless wars, violence against their own kind. Yet they also create art, music, and care for the sick and weak." Captain Gray found humans physically unimpressive. They lacked the natural armor of the Frex species, the telepathic abilities of the mindful ones, or the regenerative capabilities of his own people. They were soft, fragile creatures with dull senses and limited strength. "The Council will want a full report," he said. "Prepare for first contact protocols." The decision to reveal themselves to humans came after detecting several primitive space stations orbiting the planet and unmanned probes venturing to nearby worlds in their system. These humans were on the verge of true space exploration. According to Council law, contact was permitted with any species approaching this technological threshold. The Seeker positioned itself above a large military installation and transmitted a simple greeting message on all frequencies. The response was immediate. Chaos erupted in the human communications. Military vessels scrambled, weapons systems activated, and emergency protocols engaged worldwide. "They are afraid," Officer Mott observed. "Yet they prepare to fight rather than flee," Captain Gray replied, newfound respect in his voice. "Interesting." After hours of increasing tension, a response finally came. A human identifying himself as Admiral Stone requested communication. His face appeared on the main screen. Hairless except for patches above the eyes, and on top of the head, skin a light brown color, features set in what the alien's cultural database identified as determination. "I represent Earth's United Defense Command," Admiral Stone said firmly. "State your purpose and intentions." Captain Gray activated the visual transmitter, revealing his true form to humans for the first time. Tall, with iridescent blue skin, 4 arms, and compound eyes. "I am Captain Gray of the Galactic Council exploration vessel Seeker. We come in peace to establish contact with your species." Admiral Stone barely blinked at the alien appearance. "We're prepared to establish diplomatic relations," he said evenly, "but any hostile action will be met with the full force of Earth's military." Captain Gray felt an unexpected chill. These humans, despite their physical limitations and primitive technology, showed no fear facing a clearly superior species. The Admiral spoke as if addressing an equal, not as a supplicant. "The Council extends an invitation to join the galactic community," Captain Gray continued. "We will share knowledge and technology." "We accept your invitation to talk," Admiral Stone replied. "We suggest a neutral meeting location." As preparations began for the first face-to-face encounter, Captain Gray sent a private message to the Council. "Exercise caution with these humans. They appear weak, but there is something dangerous about them. They fight when they should surrender, innovate when they should fail, and unite when they should divide. They are unlike any species we have encountered before." The humans, meanwhile, prepared their own delegation, led by diplomat Jack Reed. Neither species truly understood what they were getting into. The galaxy was about to change forever. The meeting took place on a floating platform above the Atlantic Ocean. Humans arrived in military helicopters, while the aliens descended in a sleek shuttle from their ship. Jack Reed led the human delegation, his plain dark suit a stark contrast to the shimmering garments worn by Ambassador Trill, the Council's chief diplomat. "Welcome to Earth," Jack said, extending his hand in greeting. He had been briefed not to show surprise at the alien's appearance. Ambassador Trill looked at the offered hand with uncertainty. The Council's research had revealed this was a human greeting ritual, but the idea of touching another species seemed strangely intimate. After a moment's hesitation, she extended one of her 4 hands. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I bring greetings," she said through her translator. The first day of talks went smoothly. The aliens explained the Council's structure: 500 species united in peaceful cooperation, sharing resources and knowledge across 20,000 star systems. They described fantastic worlds, advanced technologies, and medical breakthroughs that made human science look primitive. "And in return for joining this council, what would be expected of us?" Jack asked. "Compliance with council laws, sharing of resources, controlled development of potentially dangerous technologies," Ambassador Trill replied. Admiral Stone, who had insisted on being part of the delegation, frowned. "Controlled by whom?" "The Council oversees all member species for the greater good," Trill explained. The humans exchanged glances. Something felt off about this arrangement. On the second day, the talks took an unexpected turn when the aliens requested information about human history. Jack organized a presentation showing Earth's major historical events. The aliens watched in growing horror as images of world wars, nuclear explosions, and environmental disasters flashed across the screen. Ambassador Trill's skin changed from vibrant purple to a pale blue, a sign of extreme distress in her species. "You fought war after war, and yet survived?" she asked incredulously. "You tested nuclear weapons on your own planet?" Jack nodded. "Human history is complicated. We've made mistakes, but we've learned from them. And this competition you call sports. You intentionally engage in physical combat for entertainment?" asked another alien diplomat. "It's not just combat," Jack explained. "It's about pushing limits, testing human potential." That evening, aboard the Seeker, Captain Gray met with his crew and the diplomatic team. "These humans are unlike any species we've encountered," he said. "They developed on what we would classify as a death world. High gravity, extreme weather patterns, dangerous predators. Their entire evolution was shaped by constant threat." Ambassador Trill looked troubled. "They casually mentioned surviving diseases that would have wiped out most council species. Their immune systems are remarkably robust." "It's more than their physical traits," Officer Mott added. "Their psychology is disturbing. They thrive on challenge and conflict. They deliberately seek out difficult situations." The next day, the aliens' questions became more pointed. They asked about human warfare, weapons development, and conflict resolution. With each answer, their concern grew. "You mean to tell me," Ambassador Trill said, "that in your Cold War, the only thing preventing global destruction was the knowledge that both sides would be destroyed?" "Mutual assured destruction," Jack confirmed. "Not our proudest moment, but it worked." Word reached the Galactic Council. Emergency sessions were called. Some council members advocated immediately quarantining Earth. Others saw potential in humanity's resilience and adaptability. Back on Earth, Jack sensed the aliens' growing unease. "Is something wrong, Ambassador?" Trill hesitated before answering. "Your species is unusual. You evolved in conditions that would kill most sentient beings. You survived by becoming dangerous yourselves." Admiral Stone stepped forward. "Are we being threatened?" "Not at all," Trill replied quickly. "But the Council must evaluate the situation carefully." Unknown to the humans, a vote was already underway among Council members. The majority favored isolation, keeping humans contained to their solar system until they could be properly understood. A smaller faction argued for immediate integration, believing humans could be valuable allies against the enemies that lurked in the darkness between stars. As the sun set on the third day of talks, Jack felt the momentum shifting. What had begun as a welcome to the galactic community was becoming something else entirely. The aliens were afraid, not of human weapons or technology, but of humanity itself. 1 week after the initial meetings, Ambassador Trill returned with a new proposal. The Council had reached a decision. Before humans could be considered for membership, they would need to pass a series of tests to prove their worthiness and evaluate their capabilities. Tests. Admiral Stone's voice carried a hint of suspicion. What kind of tests? Simple challenges to demonstrate your species' abilities and limitations. Trill explained smoothly. All potential members undergo similar evaluation. Jack Reed nodded slowly. We accept, provided these tests pose no threat to Earth or its people. The first test arrived the next day. A massive alien device was delivered to a secure military facility. It resembled a metal cube, 10 feet on each side, covered in strange symbols, and with no visible opening. Inside this container is a power source, Ambassador Trill explained. Your task is to access it without destroying it. Most species take approximately 1 month to solve this puzzle. Engineer Maria, the top scientist from Earth's United Research Division, led the team assigned to the cube. They scanned it, studied the symbols, and tried various approaches to open it. The symbols form a mathematical sequence, Maria observed on the third day. But it doesn't match any known alien number system. While other engineers attempted sophisticated technical solutions, Maria took a different approach. She noticed that when touched in certain places, the cube emitted a faint hum. Following this discovery, she mapped the cube's surface by touch, identifying patterns that the scanners had missed. On the 5th day, Maria pressed her palm against a specific pattern of symbols. The cube hummed loudly, then split open along previously invisible seams. Inside was a glowing crystal, the power source. Ambassador Trill appeared shocked. 5 days. Impossible. This challenge was designed to test patience and analytical thinking over weeks, not days. The second test was a survival scenario. 3 human volunteers, including a young soldier named Tom, were transported to an artificial environment aboard the alien mothership, a habitat designed to simulate harsh conditions on various Council worlds. Survive for 14 cycles was their only instruction. The habitat shifted every day, from scorching desert to frozen tundra, from high-gravity swampland to low-oxygen mountains. The alien observers expected the humans to struggle, perhaps even request early extraction. Instead, the humans thrived. They adapted quickly to each new environment, improvising tools and shelters from available materials. They worked together seamlessly, rotating sleep schedules and sharing duties. Tom proved especially resourceful, fashioning a water filtration system from plant fibers in the swamp environment that impressed even the alien engineers who had designed the habitat. When the 14 days ended, all 3 humans emerged tired but healthy. Captain Gray, who had been observing the tests, made a private note. Their adaptability exceeds all projections. They treat survival as a challenge rather than a threat. The final test was more subtle. The humans were presented with a moral dilemma designed to reveal their ethical framework. They were shown a simulation of an interstellar conflict and asked how they would resolve it with minimal casualties. Jack Reed led the human team in this challenge. Their solution surprised the aliens. Instead of choosing either of the expected approaches, complete non-interference or decisive military action, the humans proposed a complex diplomatic solution backed by limited show of force. We find that potential adversaries often respond better when they understand both what they can gain through cooperation and what they might lose through conflict, Jack explained. Captain Gray found himself increasingly fascinated by humans. Their unpredictable approaches to problems made them dangerous, yes, but also potentially valuable allies. He began to advocate for their acceptance among his superiors. Not everyone agreed. Commander Vorks, a high-ranking military officer in the Council fleet, viewed the test results with alarm rather than admiration. They solved in days what takes others months, he argued in a closed council session. They survive conditions that would kill most sentient beings, and their approach to conflict is unpredictable. These are not traits we want spreading throughout the galaxy. Meanwhile, on Earth, Maria had secretly kept a small fragment of the crystal from the first test. In her laboratory, she discovered it could be integrated with human technology in ways the aliens had never intended. Within days, she had created a prototype energy system that outperformed anything humans had previously developed. The emergency alarm blared through the Seeker's command deck. Captain Gray rushed to his station as Officer Mott pulled up the sensor readings. Unidentified ships at the edge of this solar system, Mott reported. 7 vessels, heavily armed. They don't match any Council designs. Captain Gray felt a cold dread. Harvesters. The Harvesters were the nightmare that kept the Galactic Council united despite internal disagreements. A nomadic species that consumed resources and life forms alike. They moved through the galaxy like locusts, leaving dead worlds in their wake. No diplomacy had ever succeeded with them. They existed only to consume. They must have detected our activities around Earth, Captain Gray said. Alert the Council immediately. On the Council's central command station, light years away, Commander Vorks received the news with an unsettling calm. Perhaps this is a solution to our human problem, he said to his advisors. Let the Harvesters test these dangerous humans. If humans defeat them, they prove their worth. If they fall, we are spared a difficult decision. You can't be serious, Ambassador Trill protested. The Harvesters will destroy the entire planet. The Council has voted not to interfere, Vorks replied coldly. This is a natural test of fitness. Captain Gray, unaware of this decision, waited for reinforcements that would never come. As the silence from command stretched on, he made a decision that would change his life forever. Prepare my shuttle, he ordered. I'm going to warn the humans. Admiral Stone received the news with grim determination. How long do we have? 3 days at most, Captain Gray replied. The Harvesters will target your Mars colony first. It's isolated, vulnerable. How many ships do these Harvesters have? 7 in this fleet, each carrying weapons that could level your cities. They are relentless and feel no fear or mercy. Stone turned to his communications officer. Alert all Earth governments and military commands. Code Black. Immediate global cooperation protocol. He looked back at Captain Gray. Will your Council help us? Captain Gray hesitated. I don't know. I haven't received orders yet. Jack Reed, who had joined the emergency meeting, studied the alien captain closely. But you're here warning us anyway. Against orders. I couldn't let you face this blind, Gray admitted. In the following 48 hours, Earth mobilized as never before. Ancient enemies set aside differences. Every military asset was readied for space deployment. The Mars colony received emergency evacuation orders, but Governor Mills of Mars Colony 1 sent back a different response. We will not evacuate. We will be the first line of defense. On Mars, 2,000 colonists prepared for battle. They had limited weapons, but something the Harvesters had never encountered before. Human ingenuity born of desperate circumstances. Maria worked around the clock, applying what she had learned from the alien crystal to upgrade Earth's defensive systems. If we modify our satellite network with this energy signature, she explained to the international science team, we might be able to disrupt their ship communications. As the Harvester fleet approached Mars, Captain Gray provided what intelligence he could. They will expect surrender. They always offer life in exchange for complete submission. But it's a lie. They harvest biological material from submissive populations just as efficiently as from those who resist. Admiral Stone nodded grimly. Then we give them something they don't expect. The first Harvester ship entered Mars orbit and broadcast their standard message: submit and be processed humanely. Resist and be destroyed completely. Governor Mills sent back a simple reply: come and get us. The harvesters, puzzled by this response, sent a smaller scout ship to the main colony dome. As it landed, the harvesters detected no weapons or defenses. Just as they had done on 100 worlds before, they deployed harvest troops, tall, chitinous beings with multiple limbs ending in cutting tools. What they didn't know was that the apparent lack of defenses was deliberately misleading. The colonists had reconfigured their mining equipment into makeshift weapons and traps. As the first harvesters entered the main dome, they triggered explosive decompression in sealed corridors, blast doors trapping them in sections where oxygen was rapidly replaced with toxic mining gases. Back on Earth, Admiral Stone watched the Mars telemetry with grim satisfaction. First blood to us, but the real battle is just beginning. The remaining harvester ships, enraged by the loss of their advance team, prepared to obliterate the Mars colony from orbit. They had never encountered a species that fought back with such calculated ferocity. In all their existence, they had never faced an enemy like humans. The Harvester mothership positioned itself directly above Mars Colony 1 and charged its main weapon. The massive energy cannon could reduce the entire settlement to ash in seconds, but the humans were ready. As the weapon powered up, the colonists activated Maria's modified shield system. The technology was crude by galactic standards, a combination of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien tech from the crystal fragment. It wouldn't stop a direct hit, but it didn't need to. The cannon fired. A blinding beam of energy shot toward the colony. At the last moment, the shield activated, not blocking the beam but deflecting it, sending it careening into one of the smaller harvester ships. The vessel exploded instantly. Impossible, Captain Gray whispered as he watched from the Seeker, which he had positioned just outside the battle zone. Their technology isn't advanced enough for that kind of deflection. On Earth, Admiral Stone watched the battle feed with grim satisfaction. Launch the Space Force now. Mars has given us the opening we need. Earth's hastily assembled space fleet rose from launch sites around the planet, a cobbled-together force of retrofitted military satellites, experimental spacecraft, and even civilian vessels equipped with weapons. By Council standards, it was barely a militia, let alone a proper fighting force. But it was all humanity had. The harvesters, still reeling from the unexpected loss of one of their ships, detected the approaching Earth fleet. They responded with cold efficiency, breaking formation to meet this new threat. Young pilot Tom led the first wave of attack ships. His squadron had trained for only 48 hours on the modified aircraft, but they flew with a ferocity that caught the harvesters off guard. Remember, we can't match their firepower, Tom told his squadron. Hit and run. Make them chase us. The human ships darted around the much larger harvester vessels, firing quick bursts at vulnerable points Captain Gray had identified. Their smaller size and unpredictable flight patterns made them difficult targets. The harvesters had never encountered this kind of warfare. They were accustomed to overwhelming force against planets that either surrendered immediately or mounted organized, predictable defensive patterns. Human tactics seemed chaotic, even suicidal at times, as pilots like Tom flew directly at enemy weapons, veering away at the last possible moment. On the Harvester command ship, the Hive leader struggled to understand these bizarre enemies. They were technologically inferior, yet fighting as if victory were possible. They sacrificed tactical advantage for individual targets of opportunity. It made no logical sense. 3 hours into the battle, the tide began to turn against the humans. Despite their innovative tactics, the Harvester's superior technology was winning through sheer firepower. Human ships were being picked off one by one. The Mars shield was weakening under repeated attacks. Tom saw a Harvester destroyer positioning to deliver a killing blow to Earth's main carrier. Without hesitation, he opened a channel to Admiral Stone. "Sir, I need permission for Operation Sunburst." There was a pause. "Permission granted, son. Give him hell." Tom's damaged fighter, carried a payload that Maria had developed in secret, a modified nuclear device enhanced with energy from the alien crystal. It was untested and likely a one-way mission. For Earth, Tom whispered as he accelerated directly toward the Harvester destroyer's main engine. His fighter weaved through defensive fire, taking hits but staying on course. Captain Gray watched in horror and admiration as the small human ship disappeared into the Harvester vessel's engine housing. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a blinding light erupted from within the Harvester ship. The explosion was unlike anything in Council records, a combination of human nuclear technology and alien energy that created a chain reaction throughout the Harvester vessel. The destroyer didn't just explode. It collapsed inward before sending out a shockwave that disabled two nearby Harvester ships. In one sacrificial act, Tom had turned the battle. Captain Gray immediately transmitted the data to Council headquarters. The humans have found a way to combine their primitive nuclear technology with crystal energy. The resulting weapon is beyond anything in our defense projections. On the Council station, Commander Vorks watched the battle data with growing alarm. What had been intended as a convenient solution to the human problem was becoming a demonstration of why humans were so dangerous. They had taken alien technology they barely understood and weaponized it in ways the Council had never imagined possible. The remaining Harvester ships, recognizing the unexpected threat, began to retreat. For the first time in recorded history, a Harvester fleet was abandoning an attack. News of the human victory spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Species that had never heard of Earth suddenly couldn't stop talking about the primitives who had forced a Harvester retreat. The impossible had happened, and the implications were enormous. In the Grand Council chamber, Ambassador Trill addressed the gathered representatives. We must reconsider our position on humans. They have demonstrated exceptional ability and courage against our common enemy. Commander Vork stepped forward, his metallic exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber lights. What they have demonstrated is exactly why they are too dangerous to join our civilization. Look at the data. He gestured to the holographic display showing the battle recordings. In less than one planetary cycle, they weaponized technology they barely understand. They employed suicide tactics that no rational species would consider. Their victory wasn't won through superior technology or numbers, but through reckless disregard for established combat doctrine. The Council chamber filled with murmurs. Some representatives nodded in agreement, while others seemed troubled by Vorks's assessment. A representative from the Mindful Ones, a species known for their wisdom, spoke up. Perhaps what we see as recklessness is actually their greatest strength. They think differently than we do. Precisely my point, Vorks replied sharply. They are unpredictable and dangerous, and now they possess weapons that could threaten Council worlds. Back on Earth, unaware of the debate raging about their fate, humans were preparing for what they believed was inevitable: the return of the Harvesters in greater numbers. Maria worked with international teams to reproduce the crystal energy technology, while Admiral Stone coordinated a planetary defense strategy. Jack Reed met with Captain Gray aboard the Seeker. "You've been quiet since the battle," Jack observed. "Something on your mind?" Captain Gray hesitated. "The Council will not view your victory as I do. They fear species they cannot predict, and humans are the most unpredictable species the galaxy has ever seen." "We're just trying to survive," Jack said simply. "That's what makes you dangerous. Survival for humans doesn't mean mere existence. You adapt, evolve, and overcome in ways that defy logical analysis." Jack smiled. "Is that a compliment or a warning?" "Both," Gray replied. On the Council station, Commander Vorks gathered his loyal supporters. "The Council is weak, debating while the human threat grows. We must act decisively." "What are you suggesting?" asked his second-in-command. "A preemptive strike. We eliminate the human problem before they become a galactic problem." "But the Council hasn't authorized." "The Council is paralyzed by indecision," Vorks interrupted. "Sometimes protection requires action without authorization." The coup was swift and efficiently executed. Key council members were isolated, communication systems were secured, and Vorks assumed emergency control. His first command was chilling. Prepare the fleet for immediate deployment to Earth. Maximum firepower. No warning. Ambassador Trill, placed under house arrest, managed to send an encrypted message to Captain Gray. Vorks has taken control. Fleet coming to Earth. No peaceful intent. Help them if you can. Captain Gray faced the most difficult decision of his life. His duty was to the Council, but his conscience told him Vorks' actions were wrong. After a long moment, he made his choice. Officer Mott, set course for Earth, maximum speed. Alert any sympathetic Council ships in this sector to meet us there. Sir, that's treason against the Council, Mott said quietly. The Council I swore to serve would never sanction the extermination of an entire species without provocation. Vorks has betrayed our principles, not me. As the Seeker raced toward Earth, Captain Gray opened a secure channel to Admiral Stone. A Council fleet is approaching your system, led by Commander Vorks. This is not a diplomatic mission. They intend to destroy Earth. Stone's expression remained impassive, but his voice hardened. How much time do we have? 3 days at most. You won't survive a direct confrontation. Their technology is centuries beyond yours. We survived the Harvesters. Barely, against a much smaller force. Vorks brings the full might of the Council military. Jack Reed, listening to the exchange, asked the question that mattered most. Will you help us, Captain? Gray looked at the human diplomat, remembering everything he had learned about this strange, dangerous, remarkable species. Yes, I and those loyal to the true Council principles will stand with you. But know this, we are vastly outnumbered. Admiral Stone smiled grimly. Then we'll just have to be unpredictable again, won't we? The Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, a massive armada of warships that darkened space with their numbers. Commander Vorks stood on the bridge of the flagship, looking at the small blue planet on the view screen. Such an insignificant world, he mused. Hard to believe it produced a species of such concern. His tactical officer approached with a report. Sir, we detect increased activity around the planet. They appear to be preparing defenses. As expected, Vorks replied. Begin the attack sequence. Target their major military installations first, then population centers. As the fleet moved forward, long-range sensors detected something unusual. A small group of Council ships had positioned themselves between the Armada and Earth. At their center was the Seeker. Captain Gray, Vorks growled, opening the communication channel. You stand in violation of direct orders. Move your ships immediately or be destroyed with the humans. Gray's calm face appeared on the screen. The Council does not sanction genocide, Commander. Your coup will not succeed. Stand down your weapons. Vorks laughed. You and your handful of loyal fools cannot stop this fleet. I give you one final chance to preserve your lives. We choose to stand with humanity. Gray replied simply and cut the transmission. Vorks turned to his weapons officer. Target those traitor ships first. Show no mercy. The first volley of energy weapons lanced out from the Council Armada, striking Gray's small defensive line. 2 ships exploded immediately, but the Seeker and 3 others held position, returning fire despite being hopelessly outmatched. On Earth, Admiral Stone watched the space battle with grim determination. They're buying us time. Launch Operation Mirage now. Across Earth, massive energy signatures suddenly appeared and disappeared in random patterns. Thousands of false signals bloomed on Vorks' sensors, making it impossible to distinguish real targets from decoys. What is this? Vorks demanded as his targeting systems became confused by the phantom readings. Some kind of electronic countermeasure, his science officer replied. They're using the crystal energy in a way we've never seen, creating false sensor readings that perfectly mimic actual power signatures. Maria's innovation was working perfectly. Her team had deployed thousands of small crystal fragments around the planet. each programmed to generate energy patterns that exactly matched military bases, power plants, and weapon platforms. If they can't tell what's real from what's fake, they'll have to target everything, she had explained to Stone, and they don't have enough firepower to hit everything. Meanwhile, Jack Reed coordinated a different kind of operation. Using Captain Gray's communication codes, he broadcast a message to every Council world. Commander Vorks has staged an illegal coup and seeks to destroy Earth without provocation. We ask all Council species to witness his violation of our most sacred principles. Attached to the message was evidence of Vorks's treachery, along with footage of humans fighting alongside loyal Council ships to defend their world. As the battle raged, more Council ships began arriving in the system, not to join Vorks's attack, but to oppose it. Many captains had received Gray's earlier messages and chosen to honor the true principles of the Galactic Council. Vorks watched in growing rage as his advantage slipped away. "Launch the planet killer missile now," he ordered. "End this before more interference arrives." A massive weapon detached from his flagship, accelerating toward Earth. It contained enough power to crack the planet's crust and render the surface uninhabitable for millennia. Captain Gray saw the launch and sent an urgent message to Stone. They'd deployed a planet killer. "Nothing in your arsenal can stop it." Stone's reply was calm. "We don't need to stop it. Just redirect it." As the missile approached Earth, hundreds of smaller human vessels moved to intercept it. Each carried a piece of crystal technology, generating focused energy fields. Individually, they were insignificant. Together, they created a gravity distortion that slowly, inexorably altered the missile's course. Vorks watched in disbelief as his unstoppable weapon veered away from Earth, curving back toward his own fleet. "Impossible," he shouted. "Destroy that missile immediately." But the missile's defensive systems, designed to prevent exactly this kind of self-destruction, recognized the Council ships as friendly and ignored their desperate attempts to destroy it. The explosion tore through the heart of Vorks's fleet, destroying the flagship and dozens of surrounding vessels. The remaining ships, seeing their commander defeated, began surrendering to the growing number of loyal Council vessels.